2023-24 campaign. Tom, a lot to dive into, but before we talk about the season and the off-season, just want to give you a big congratulations, part of the management group for Team USA, and you'll be leading the charge there for the Four Nations face-off and also in the Olympics in 2026. So what does that honor mean to you?
Well, it's quite an honor, to say the least. I'm very privileged to be put in this position to help lead the country to a gold medal. You know, like I said, it's overwhelming. I wasn't good enough as a player. Now it seems I'm okay as a manager. So very excited about this whole opportunity.
Well, we look forward to you representing USA and also the Devils organization as well. So let's talk a little bit about the team that you are currently managing. And yes, it's not where we expected to be when we finished last year. Such a high note. Everything was with such ease. So there's a lot of specifics we can get to. But just as we hit game 82, what's the feeling of disappointment and maybe some hunger going into the offseason after a letdown year?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so disappointing, to say the least. You know, where our expectations were at the start have always been, you know, the standard we're trying to create here, playoffs or bust, but here we are. We have a lot to unpack, that's for sure. Whether it's, you know, personnel, you know, how can we get better in certain areas, style of play. It's a big offseason for myself to try to right this ship properly.
How important is it that they finish strong, though, tonight, especially after the way the road season ended last game?
Well, of course, every game matters. You know, it's for younger players, it's tryouts. For older players, you know, are you people that we can win with? Can we continue to move forward with? So everybody's always being evaluated. That's the nature of our beast.
Well, Fitzy, again, congratulations, and it's a really frustrating season. I think you talked about no one expected us to be sitting here in game 82 like this, and you talk about evaluations, and now is your job. You know, yes, you weren't expecting interim head coach Travis Green to have to be the guy behind the bench, but I'm assuming you're probably going to start maybe there with the coaching staff and just do an analysis of what do you have internally. Is there somebody else outside of the organization? Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, and Travis knows exactly where I stand with that. I'm very upfront, very direct. As he's being evaluated, he will get an opportunity to sit in front of me and really tell me how he wants his team to play from the start of training camp to as we move into the playoffs, and how do we get there. So he'll have an opportunity to do that, and I owe it to the organization to look outside the organization on who's available, you know, how they see our team, how they feel our team can play, and try to take us to the next level.
Well, yes, and like we tell everybody, he's definitely going to get an equal opportunity, but you have to be responsible, make sure that you know, see what else is out there, just to, if anything, just to make sure that you're making the right decision. And talking with that, you know, I'm a guy that every now and then tries to find, okay, well, you had a bad season, but maybe what are some of the positives? And another area that you've been started last offseason was trying to really figure out the goalie situation. And if anything, I think, you know, what happened this year, you had to go out and get creative in between the pipes, and you bring in Kakkonen and then Jake Allen. And if anything, you know, Jake Allen showed you that you definitely have at least one of those pieces, and maybe you keep, you know, stay with Kakkonen too, but at least you know you have one solid piece there for next season.
Well, for sure. And I think both goalies have come in and played really well and given us a chance every single game to win a hockey game. I think first and foremost is not relying on our two young goalies, and allowing them to grow at their own pace down in the American Hockey League, where they probably rightfully should have been. However, you know, this is when you see growth in certain goalies, in particular Schmid, all of last year into the playoffs, giving him an opportunity to continue to grow at this level was something we chose to do. But with that being said, now, yeah, it's an opportunity for me this summer to be a part of whoever may become available, see what's on the market. You're right, Jake Allen has another year with us, and that was the plan from the get-go. And again, the plan at the deadline was to put ourselves in a situation where we can be in on potential trades or free agents in the offseason because of our cap space.
Yeah, and then just the fact that even though, you know, Kakkonen is an unrestricted free agent, he's showing you enough that, you know, if it's too expensive to bring another piece in, that he's definitely been excellent, and he could be somebody that you could also rely on, whether that's short-term, long-term as well.
Oh, for sure. You know, we knew he was a good goalie. Can we play better in front of him? I mean, at the end of the day, Sal, you know this better than anyone. It shouldn't all fall on the goaltender. I mean, we've got to stop being a team that bleeds scoring chances at the net front.
Yeah.
And that's a learning curve. You don't want to talk about positives. Like, I do think we've got some young defensemen who experienced a lot this year, maybe a little too much. But with that being said, I think that's going to pay forward with them all, with getting this experience and applying to next year, the start of camp. They know exactly where they are and what they need to do in the offseason to really take that next step.
And where we left off, we're talking about the young defensemen, and they wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if it wasn't for the sheer number of injuries that this team was facing. So we have to talk about that when you're looking at this season as a whole. Can you wrap your head around the fact that the core that you put together really was not out there on the ice as a unit very often?
Not versus last year, that's for sure. And it's not an excuse either. You know what? Playing a certain way and being consistent with that was something that I think we fell short on. So, but when you do have, at one time we had plus $30 million out of our lineup, and we stayed in the fight, but it's still it's not how we set up this group. You need the hockey gods to stay on your side. You need to stay healthy. Not having Dougie Hamilton for pretty much all year hurt. But you're right. Nemec, for example, was forced into playing. I thought he played extremely well his first month, and then he probably hit some bumpy roads. We expected that from the get-go. We've always said we're going to take a step back with inexperience on the back end. But with that being said, we felt it was going to help us gain two steps forward, moving ahead. This is the opening of our window. You know, last year was a fantastic year for us, but the reality is we still have some developing to do at this level with certain young defensemen. Put Kevin Ball in that bucket as well. So, but we're excited about them. We really are, because of the upside. Luke's had a tremendous year. He's getting better without the puck. He's playing 21 and a half minutes a night. Nemec just playing 20 minutes as a 19-year-old, and Kevin Ball is up with 18 plus. So, you know what? We didn't expect that.
Well, no, and again, you know, no one saw this script being written, and we look at, you know, what Luke was showing the fans throughout the season. And look, after game 50, he had a little bit of a lull, but that was to be expected as well. He hasn't played that many games under pressure, and to come to the National Hockey League and have to be defending night in and night out, have to be leading the power play, that's a lot to ask of a young defenseman. And so, you know, it's just a testament to, you know, what they were able to do, even though it was ups and down. And you know, and then, yeah.
Well, you think the reality is, like, Luke's, the most he's ever played was 40 games, maybe 40 in college. Now, when you get into the 40-50 range, yeah, that's unknown land for certain players. But that's the experience of turning pro and going through that you can't experience unless you do it. And we're confident. I mean, you see Luke. We know what the upside is. He's going to be a tremendous young player for us for a long time.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and I think another thing that, you know, I saw, which was tremendous to see some of your players go through, that being Brad, Heischer, Jack Hughes, is just adversity, right? Like last year, everything went well, and now they got a taste of how awful it tastes and feels to be losing again. And I would assume, you know, that'll be something that'll motivate them this offseason, that it's kind of good that they went through it now versus maybe getting, we used to always say, punch in the nose a couple seasons later.
Well, I sure hope so. You know, that's what we're looking at. You know, how does this year, you know, what kind of taste it leaves in everybody's mouth, including my own. And I'm the leader of the pack. I've got to do a better job here. However, you know, you talked about Bratter and what he had, the growing pains he went through. Mercer,
right.
Jack himself, Nico, but they did it at different circumstances of where we were versus Luke and Nemec and Baller. But the reality is, they need that same, you know, rope to continue to improve and develop into the defenseman we know they're going to be.
Well, building off of that, Jesper Bratt was exactly saying that this morning, that this is something they have to process, and it's definitely going to be a real motivator going into that offseason. So you like that from your core, to be able to come back hungrier than ever. But what other areas, aside from goal, which we've already touched upon, are you looking to address come the offseason to get yourself to that next level and that caliber team you're looking for?
Well, I think it's trying to figure out the inconsistencies of our play the whole year. You look at Timo. He's been the best goal scorer in the league since March 1st.
Tremendous.
That's who we traded for. You know, we need to get him off to a really good start next year. And play like he has. He's a bull. He's everything we thought in a power forward. So areas, you know, like this is what I really want to unpack. You know, the characters of our players. We know what our core looks like. How about the supporting cast? What are those characteristics we're looking for in players? You know, I'm trying to re-sign Curtis McDermott right now. I think he's been a huge part of our group and has made these kids and any player feel a lot more comfortable on the ice, and that's part of hockey. So building around that core that we have, luckily have, with characteristics that we feel can help this team move forward.
Well, it's no coincidence Mercer got his first fight after McDermott was in the lineup, so you just see how that kind of spreads and fuels everybody. And, you know, one last question I have for you, just around, you know, because fans always ask me about is Alexander Holtz. You know, this guy had 16 goals, you know, just a perplexing season still, right? And so, you know, how do you assess the season that he's had?
Well, you're right. I mean, he hasn't had the ice time that I think a lot of people would like him to have. But we're also trying to develop him into a 200-foot player, not just a goal scorer. Yeah, we know with time and space he can shoot the puck. We know with time and space he can pick corners. We know that. He's proven that. It's trying to get him into those spaces a little bit quicker. You know, as you know, when you break down a game, the little parts of the game are the areas that players like Alex have to continue to grow on, improve. Wall play, 50-50 puck battles, you know, just playing a little physical, you know, getting to the net front. It's okay to tip in a puck here and there. They got to get to the net. So there's a lot of areas where we're looking to help him grow as well. But we do know what he does well, and he's had, you know, offensively 16 goals. Somebody who has the ice time that he's had, it's actually pretty good.
And it all comes back to just getting that consistency going individually as a team. Tom, we thank you so much for joining us here. We know you'll be busy with all your off-season moves and the evaluation process across the board.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Fitzy.
All right, we've got